another author today, which will be the last of their work, Insipid Paroxysm. This is the last one. Well, there's a joke one that's 402J, but from the main stories, this is the last of their work. The last one that we read of theirs was 2257. 2257. Oh yeah, it was like it was the furniture that actually will come out in from when I'm streaming now. It will come out in 12 days. It was like where each piece of furniture is alive and competing with one another to like make you like them more. Yeah, it's like super annoying to be in that house because it's just so. Yeah, I don't know how to explain it. It's like because it's like two different. It's like two different. I forgot if it's two similar furniture or two fully different furniture just yelling at each other to make sure that you like them more. I would hate that. Right now, like if I was in this room and my chair was yelling at my bed, or my ring light would be yelling at my picture frames in the back, I'll be like, guys, shut the hell up. I'm trying to stream here. Alright, my day, Insipid Paroxysm, you wrote Safety Harbor Milk Delivery Service. Well, we had a postal service before, but now we have a milk delivery service. Optional class, neutralized, safe. Special containment procedures. Any recovered instance of -1 are to be stored inside 23's refrigerated containment unit 23-4. Individuals in possession of SB2488 instances or possessing knowledge of SB2488 are to be amnesticized on a case-by-case basis. Description: SB2488 refers to a series of anomalous phenomena that occurred between April 21st, 1933 and 1939. Footnote: official documentation from Safety Harbor contains multiple termination dates for SB2488 activity. There's a rough estimate. During this period, an organization known as the Safety Harbor Milk Bottle Delivery Service operated within Safety Harbor, Florida. We have a lot of SCPs in the US right now. In today's reading, the parameters of its tasks were to intake empty milk bottles and deliver full bottles of milk bearing the brand label Safety Harbor Milk, heavily known as -1. This is also the second milk delivery service SCP that we have. No delivery men or vehicles were sighted during delivery hours, and -1 materialized where no human observers could observe the event. On April 21st, 1933, a full bottle of milk manifested on the threshold of every populated household within the city limits of Safety Harbor. Safety Harbor did not previously own a milk bottle service due to the economic hardship during the 1930s. The population of Safety Harbor is recorded to have shown misgivings towards SB2488 events upon initial manifestation. However, over time, SB2488 became an integral portion of Safety Harbor. SB2488 events occurred every night at like 3 minutes after midnight. There's an estimated, well, 03 o'clock. There's an estimation based on Safety Harbor documentation. The exact timekeeping during this period was still approximate. Any empty milk bottle labeled as a Safety Harbor milk bottle demanifested if placed upon any portion of its linked household that could be defined as a threshold, patio, or porch. At 05, an instance of -1 manifested for every received milk bottle. When consumed, SB2488 was known to give the consumer increased physical capabilities. Although calcium! No major increases in capability were documented. It is impossible to determine if this sensation was a placebo effect. Although this improvement did not significantly impact Safety Harbor, it allowed for an increased level of productivity that led Safety Harbor into a marginally improved economic and social standing. If at any time an active citizen of Safety Harbor consumed -1, they were subject to the effects of SB 2488. Following death, citizens of Safety Harbor would become reanimated, with drastically increased physical strength and stamina, and progressive but usually minor cognitive decay. Became a major source of manual labor, which allowed for the development of more diverse professions for living citizens. Subjects who consumed -1 did not report this effect to be distressing. According to witnesses affected by SB 2488, there was some concern related to SB 2488 when reanimated corpses were first encountered, but most subjects declared the reanimation event to be a boon. Reanimated subjects had an additional lifespan of 3 to 5 weeks and only reanimated if the body was fully intact following death. Subjects were known to dig their own graves as they neared the end of the second lifespan, which became the subject of formal ceremonies similar to burials. However, these events were documented as more lively and upbeat. Reanimated subjects, although initially documented as startling, became a normal occurrence for citizens of Safety Harbor. Addendum Alpha, Original Containment Procedures. Containment Procedures 1933 to 1939. At least 10 Foundation personnel are to be planted within Safety Harbor, Florida, while SB 2488 persists. Investigations into the Safety Harbor milk delivery service are considered top priority during SCP 2488 containment. However, the Second Life Harbor service is also to be implemented in order to attempt to normalize life in Safety Harbor while accounting for SCP 2488's effect. Census information from Safety Harbor is to be supplied remotely by Foundation personnel during containment development. Anyone attempting to enter Safety Harbor or approach it will be deterred by Foundation personnel posing as National Guard. The official cover. Sorry about that. The official cover story during containment is to establish that the area is currently undergoing sensitive relations with Native American peoples. Similarly, those who attempt to leave Safety Harbor are to be deterred with the news that nearby areas are undergoing conflict with Native American peoples. If interest in the cover story is generated in public media outside of Safety Harbor, Foundation personnel are to immediately repress. Emphasis on the town. Interests are instead to be directed towards northern region of Florida as much as possible. Discovery SB 2488 was first noted by a local publication claiming an uprising of the undead in west central Florida. The article, once investigated, was covered a second time in the same publication and explained as a hoax. People attempting to investigate Safety Harbor for themselves were deterred as the Foundation initiated investigation. The initial questioning of the mayor of Safety Harbor, Jackson Burke, led to the knowledge of a recent act of vandalism. The town's local Native American burial mound had been disturbed and laced with various litter as a rebellious act in consequence of a newly established curfew. All the litter from the surface and first 10 centimeters of the mound was removed, but is otherwise left undisturbed during investigation. Have you not seen Poltergeist? You don't want to disturb a Native American burial ground. That would be your undoing, good sir. And then on Beta Miscellaneous recovered documents. Document. God, this is. Okay. Document 15C, source of documentation, summary of town hall meeting circa mid-1933. The meeting transcript implies that this was the first encounter with the anomaly related to SB 2488. Several moments of hysteria among attendees broke out during the course of the meeting, calling for the mayor to sequester the newly reanimated subjects. It was, however, the sentiment of a small group of attendees that this was a newly raised opportunity from God. This group was later identified as a member of the Safety Harbor Christian Chapel. I mean, to be fair, I would also like, if in 1933 this happened, I'd be like, okay, this is definitely God. Citizens of Safety Harbor agreed to isolate recently dead persons in a location that supposedly no longer exists. At the time, it was used as a general storage area for the town, near the western limit. Reanimated persons were to be held until the second expiration. A rotating 1-month clean-out process was established. Document 17C, source of documentation, summary of Safety Harbor Chapel Board meeting circa mid-1933. The meeting transcript implies some disagreement over the board stance on the reanimated subjects. The discussed religious implication mostly resulted in dissent and disagreement among members, some of which opposed the confinement of reanimated persons. By the end of the meeting, no official verdict was established. Document 23C. Source of documentation, summary of town hall meeting circa early 1934. This is the third documented meeting solely on the topic of SB 2488 events. Citizens show less aversion to reanimated subjects than before. After discussion of recent events, according to the transcript, a group of citizens, mostly from 2 of the town's larger families, broke into the warehouse and freed the reanimated relatives after most reanimated persons had left the premises. A large possession was held for the proper burial of those who had experienced the second expiration. A mob of other citizens gathered to recontain reanimated persons. It was at this time that Foundation personnel stepped in, suggesting that reanimated persons may not be inherently violent or ill-willed, like many held as the preconceived notion. During this night, after a Foundation-facilitated agreement was made between a significant portion of the town, the first grave parties were held. Although the original intent was a small town gathering the following day, the expiration of several reanimated persons led to their burial during the festivities, which initiated a newly found notion of grave parties. Document 34Z, source of documentation, summary of Mayor Burke's self-presented eulogy circa late 1935. The eulogy delivered by Mayor Burke, apparently while standing on the podium over his self-dug grave, summarizes events since the beginning of SB 2488 manifestation events. This also marked the beginning of the tradition for reanimated subjects to dig their own graves, which was integrated as a part of the grave parties. The presence of reanimated subjects at this time is considered a normal occurrence in Safety Harbor, and the original misgivings of citizens are restated. Despite the fear and the destruction of the original town hall during the first reanimation event, Safety Harbor is summarized as showing immense growth, especially with the construction of a new town hall in early 1934, by reanimated subjects and living subjects alike. After delivering this eulogy, the grave party ensued until Mayor Burke stated a slowly approaching weakness coming over him, at which point he was lowered into the grave, and the celebration continued with a ceremonial filling of the grave and second dessert course. What a intense lore behind, like, not even really intense, but like, you know, like deeper lore than I expected behind like a milk delivery service that makes you basically reanimated for a couple of weeks. There's a lot of about population and politics involved as well. Notes from investigation member Taylor. This recovered documentation was discovered as investigation into SB 2488 was initiated. An abandoned office space found near the center of Safety Harbor, roped off as heritage restoration in progress, was one of the first subjects for investigation. No one had ever heard of the place before and didn't show up on the town map. It was, as the mayor said, a storage space full of heritage documents that they didn't dare to go through, lest they damage or lose any of them. Prior to amnesticization, we inquired a little into the SB 2488 events to see if we knew anything. The mayor couldn't tell us much other than it was some old folklore rolling around the town. Addendum 2488 Gamma, investigative documentation. Investigation record 12A, date of investigation March 11, 1994 to March 13, 1994. Subject of investigation subset 12A, Phillip Park, Safety Harbor, Florida. Investigator Ron Taylor. Investigative log. So the first things on our list of locations to hit up were those of historical and community value. Of course, we combed through every heritage location in town, and it turned up with a lot of written evidence, but nothing solid. Nothing directly implied that this was anything but a huge hoax, but put on by a generation of practical jokers. That was until we went into Phillip Park. It wasn't high on the list of priorities, but as a national historical landmark site, we had to check it out. With the initial readings, the metal detectors, as the sonic detection membranes radiation counters, weren't getting anything more than old coins and a few rusty nails. There was only one thing left to go through, and that was the burial mound. The Tocobaga people supposedly resided here some long time ago, way before the town was officially established. We had to set up this blinded pavilion around it to make sure no one was suspicious of it, and we roped off the area after the local government was ensured we wouldn't meddle with things, and we established a cover story for the removal of invasive plant species. We were going through it. It was some potentially destructive root systems that we found down there though. Along with the decomposed remains of a supposed Tocobaga native, we found a milk bottle. We can't make heads or tails of it. There's some further investigation going into it now. The brains over at 147 think they found some sort of radiation coming off of it, and that's interfering with most of our investigation into it. But we're trying to see if we can glean much else. So far, everything has been negligible. We did a bit of research into the Tocobaga people. Records indicate that they were driven from the area by the Spanish around 1528 and left behind this burial mound. It was once a place of ceremony where the native people could celebrate various events. Among them was death, which, according to the recovered artifacts, was seen as a passing on rather than a final ending for life. They had this belief of ancestral spirits. Once the elders died, the elders' spirits would remain to assist the living in intangible ways and watch over them. The Tocobaga people, those that survived, dispersed among the population. We couldn't find much on what the few survivors did as they moved on, but we did find one document in one of the smaller heritage sites near the edge of town. There were some journals that implied that the resident had some native heritage in them. There were many indications that not only was this individual important to the preservation of the site, but also that they visited it on a daily basis. Hold on a minute. Oh, we're good. Following the individuals early in the morning following the vandalism, the individuals' documents end abruptly in November of 1939, which correlates to some of the approximate ending dates for two SCP-2488 events. We initiate some more investigation into the individual, but I don't think much will turn up. Addendum Delta. On September 29th, 2001, the discovery of an intact -1 instance occurred in Safety Harbor. The instance was confiscated by Foundation personnel following the report in a local publication of a new heritage artifact and subjected to a chemical testing. No anomalous properties were discovered in the milk, and the instance was stored inside 23's refrigerated storage on Unit 23-4. Despite attempts to preserve the milk, it spoiled and curdled after 1 week of recovery. Yeah. Further investigation to SCP-2488 was being reopened, and instances have begun to manifest randomly in adjacent cities as well. Testing has shown that these instances of -1 show similar properties to document events. Full investigation has been initiated per request from Site 23 research personnel. Summary of second major investigation into SCP-2488. Investigator Grant Kavarian. Investigation notes. Investigation started at the burial mound where the first investigation had taken place. It was monitored for a period of 3 weeks with various audio-visual equipment. No one entered or left the premises during this time that was not Foundation personnel. Therefore, a scenario similar to the original visiting native individual is not plausible. At the end of the 3 weeks, further investigation was initiated. The anomaly only took a few hours to discover. There was side effects that hadn't been projected back in 1994. Also, the current hypothesis goes. Foundation personnel detected a cloud of electromagnetic energy that was hovering around the burial mound. The researchers managed to translate the conglomerated signals into a more translatable product. Our hypothesis is that the consciousness are all still here. It correlates somewhat to the native belief of ancestral spirits. We don't know how many there are. We're still checking the census and burial records, but it doesn't seem like it would be a small number. Ooh. I wonder if this is actually based on like Native American beliefs as well. Maybe like something with milk. Maybe not specifically milk, but like definitely like the idea of like coming back to life to bury to live a little bit longer, and then bury yourself to do a true passing. Not sure. I mean, it does make sense, right? But I wonder if that is something that somewhere, if you look closely, maybe you find something like that. I find the notion of coming back to life for a couple weeks to spend time with your loved ones, and then create your own grave, kind of fulfilling. Funny how a milk delivery service brings that forth, but I would appreciate it. Okay, let's get to the last one, guys. It's already like almost it's 22 minutes past midnight. I'm tired.